Hey everybody, it's Mike Bruce with Life Starts with Food Health Coaching. I am here with Jonathan Posey today. Jonathan is the founder, executive, and policy director of the Council of Holistic Health Educators. John, some stuff I didn't know about you. You began your career on Capitol Hill as a congressional aide, and that'd be a whole different podcast to really dive into some things and some of the things you probably got to see happen behind the scenes. You've worked as a private sector lobbyist, representing food consumer safety firms, which is a much better lobby than most people do, which is really cool. And you also represented healthcare and technology interests. So you found a need and a niche for an industry that didn't have anybody supporting them, and people like myself who really can be kind of bullied in certain states with with legislature and with other organizations like dietetics and nutritionist organizations. And you decided to really kind of be the hero for us and be the guy who the knight in shining armor that does all the work in the background to really save our businesses and our organizations. So tell me a little bit about what the Council of Holistic Health Educators does.
You have to forgive me. I was sitting there looking on the thing. My glasses were at a 45-degree angle. I was like, I'll just take those off because it looks terrible. Yeah. So the Council of Holistic Health Educators was this radical idea from 2016 that I was having some discussions with folks in the holistic health industry. And at that time, I was working at a nonprofit that was essentially imploding. It had a lot of management and structural issues, and so it was kind of imploding. And so I was kind of looking for something to do, something that's a little more stable and interesting. And I was talking to someone who was running an organization back then, and she said to me, "We have no one to defend our rights. We depend often on other associations and organizations to sort of carry our water. But when we have these fights with organizations that are attempting to require a license to talk about food and nutrition, or they're trying to erode protections that we already have in law, we don't have anyone to stand up for us." So I thought, okay, what you need is a lobbyist. You need someone to be fighting on your behalf. And what I realized is that we have a lot of these holistic health schools, but we really don't have one big enough to support a full-time advocacy arm on their own. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, let's see if we can pool our resources and come up with a trade association of sorts, a nonprofit that could do all of this work for you. It can be the warm little center that we all gather around for this. And one thing led to another, and I had multiple organizations in the beginning, 3 or 4, that said, yes, absolutely, we love this idea, let's do it. And we've been growing and growing and going ever since.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And isn't that the best? Like, that's how so many stories start, is just like, it's just somebody that has a different ability than others, just happens to be hearing a conversation or be part of a conversation, right? And then something else I love to talk about when I interview people, and I've interviewed people just on this, is finding what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and bringing those two things together and changing the world because of it. And so that's something I really, really, truly admire you for, is because I've talked to you offline before, because you have helped me personally with my own job, my own business, working in states that it's literally a federal offense for me to work in certain states as a health coach and give advice.
Not a federal offense. It'd be a state offense.
Oh, I'm sorry. State offense. I definitely wrote that wrong then on the, but no, yeah,
it's okay. It actually, and I think you were asking me a different question earlier, and that started the idea of the council. Mm-hmm. But what really got me involved with it was, at the time, I was dating a nutritional therapist, and we were living in Atlanta, Georgia, and the law down there says that it's a misdemeanor, a class 1 misdemeanor, to talk about food with another individual without a license. So she was literally like, "Honey, I'm looking at the law here, and it says I can't practice or work at all. Mm-hmm. Fix it." And so, I said, okay, let me take a look at this. And what irritated me the most is that I used to do a lot of work with the homeless and people with disabilities, and trying to get housing, trying to find unemployment. And what really just irritated me about this issue is you have so many people who are qualified, educated, driven, who want to simply do one thing: help others to eat, live, and feel better. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to change the world. They're not trying to cure diseases. They're not trying to encroach on anyone else's ability to do their job. They just want to help people.
Yeah.
And you have this trade association, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, that said, no, you can't do that. Only a licensed dietitian is the only person qualified to talk about food, diet, nutrition, and wellness with another individual. And that just made me mad.
Yeah. It's so bonkers. It's the things that you can do and make money from, and like the things you can say to people and have no problem. But as soon as you talk about just eat real food, boom. So, and here's what I not federal offense, obviously. Felony is what I was getting at.
Well, even a felony. It's not even a felony.
Oh, so I thought the state of Ohio, that was a felony.
In the state of Ohio, it is, I believe, what was it? It was like it's either a class 3 felony or a class 1 misdemeanor.
Yeah.
I think Ohio is section 4759, and it's sad that I actually know that. But that law, and I'm actually pulling it up here, that it's a felony, a federal offense that goes more towards federal level, but a lot of this is just really state level stuff. Mm-hmm. And in some states, they try to make it seem like it is a horrible thing that you're going to be put in jail, but no one has ever been put in jail for this.
Okay.
So it's these weird laws exist out there that says, oh yeah, we're going to put you in jail if you try to do this, but at the same time, they've never actually done it. And I'm looking, actually, it's kind of sad. I'm looking here at the law, and I don't quite see at the moment where it is, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere that if you practice without a license, I'm almost certain that it's either a class 3 or a class 1 misdemeanor, punishable up to a year in jail in Ohio.
That's absurd. Yeah. And I actually work for a doctor in Ohio, and that's where your help came in so well. Yeah. And it's been a while since it was last year sometime we spoke. So it's been a while. The actual details are even tough for me to remember, but it was, thankfully I practiced under a doctor.
I remember you were in Pennsylvania, and you had a doctor across in Ohio that you were working for, and you were trying to ask if you could go to Ohio or do you need to stay in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and you helped us a ton with that. So, and it's so grateful for that. And just even easing my mind on the situation, because I didn't want to, risk my own family's financial, I didn't want to be a financial burden on my family because of getting in trouble for just trying to help people. So
yeah, I'm always careful and forgive me, I'm careful to jump in when someone says a federal offense or a felony, because I don't want people to think that is a federal thing, because there is no federal law governing health coaching or the ability to talk to people about food and nutrition. It's also individual.
Yeah.
That's why we had 21 states in the District of Columbia when I started. Now we only have 16 left. That's where you have to just chip away at them one at a time. Yeah,
that's awesome. And what you're talking about there, let me bring this up real fast. You have, I think this is, so right here, just a great map of.
Oh, I got a better one. If you go back to the top and hover, where it says nutrition law overview.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. There's the picture.
Terrific. And I remember this map was way more red when I first started health coaching.
It had a lot of different colors: orange, yellow, green.
Yeah.
That was really confusing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I realized kind of midway between, I think, 2018 or early 2019 that it's binary. Either you can talk with individuals about food, diet, and nutrition without a license, or you can't.
Yeah.
There's title restrictions in there sometimes that you can't use licensed dietitian or licensed nutritionist, but really it's binary, yes or no. And the opposition, of course, has a completely red map, all red, because in their opinion, there are laws in every state.
Yep.
They leave out that extra part.
And can we talk about why, and maybe you touched on this, because anytime someone's talking, I feel bad because I'm writing notes.
Keep looking back and forth. You're fine.
Can we talk about who and why think this is such an opposition problem as a health coach? This is a touchy one, right?
No, it's not touchy at all. No, it is laughable when you really dive into it. So what we have is we have a global organization called the Academy for Nutrition of Dietetics. And bless their heart, as we say in Georgia, since the early 80s, they have been traveling around the country telling legislators, wearing white lab coats and everything, that the only person qualified and trained and educated to talk about food, diet, nutrition with an individual is a dietitian, full stop. Not doctors, no one else, period. Yeah. And when they got these, they started going around the country telling basically horror stories that food, diet, and nutrition is a public health crisis. Now, this is 1983, they're doing this. So they started getting these laws passed requiring the license. Now, you have to ask yourself, okay, what's really going on here? Are they really saying that people are dying? Is that really a big public health threat? Or is there something else? And at the beginning in the 80s, maybe up until 95, you could have made a case that there is a public health consideration here. There is something to worry about. But as you get into the era of the internet, bookstores, health coaches, nutritional therapists, holistic nutritionists, just an overflowing of outlets for information and people who are able to provide that information, education, assessment, guidance, training, etc., it starts to erode away on that public health concern. So then what you get into this situation, I think that's what we're seeing now, is you have 16 states in the District of Columbia that still require a license. Mm-hmm. What that means is that only a registered dietitian can qualify for that license. And once they get that license, it gives them market exclusivity. And so for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to admit that sure, there is a place for someone who isn't a dietitian, who is a health coach or nutritional therapist, who has education and training to empower others to think about food differently, to make better choices for their life. To admit that there's someone else that could do their job is to admit that they don't need the license.
Yeah.
Which they're never going to do, because that license requires their dietitians to maintain the registered dietitian credential. And without that, the organization goes under.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's essentially a crooked union.
I wouldn't say it's a crooked union, because I think, well, I have to be careful legally and all that. I don't want to say it's a crooked union, but it is one built on survival. You know, the first rule of every organization is survival, keeping your job. And so that I think that's really what's going on. And whenever you see an organization that says we have a credential and we want everyone to have this credential because we want to standardize and make one credential to bring about the whole world, that's great and everything. But what if 5 years down the road people go, I don't really need this credential. I've been practicing. I've got lots of clients. I've built a reputation, and they cancel that credential. Yeah. Eventually, the organization starts running out of money. So they need to do something to add value to that credential. And the only way to really do that in America is to require a license, require people to have it for something. So for the Academy, it is survival. And it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have interests. Yeah, I mean, they had, in New Jersey, we were fighting bitterly, tooth and nail, almost trench warfare for a year in New Jersey to stop that state from requiring a license to do food consulting and things like that. And I'll never forget that the director for government relations for the Academy, a guy named Pepin Tuma, was on the phone. We had a table surrounded by, New Jersey Academy people. I was on one side. I had CrossFit with me. We had legislators. And I was demanding that this guy, I was like, show me where in the state of New Jersey there has ever been a case of actual harm from the unlicensed providing of food and nutrition information, education, etc. And when he gets mad, he starts stuttering. And so that just started snowballing until he suddenly screamed out, "You just want people to die."
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. That is the magic. That is the magic moment. It's like when they go to that so far to extreme.
Yeah. That's when they've hopefully in the eyes of everybody at the hearing, they've lost some credibility.
Yeah, this guy has that whenever he speaks at hearings and things. He was at a DC hearing and he threatened to sue them and very angrily, and it never came about. He's very bombastic that way.
Man, and I wasn't laughing that he was stuttering, because I stutter all the time. And the fact that I even interview people cracks me up, because I mean, if you listen to anything I'm doing, I'm stuttering half the time. So
he gets really excited and he starts losing his words.
Yep.
And you know, it happened, and he got really angry, and so that's how they view us. Is we just want people to die because that's a shame. And the word you used earlier, absurd, that really is the right word for all of it. And there's so many similarities to so many things, but when you're in the system, you just can't even see that it's what you said, a self-fulfilling prophecy, that they're a conflict of interest at every point of the way, trying to sustain their own survival when their survival might not be necessary anymore. Actually not. That license, if you got rid of the license requirement for all dietitians across the country, nothing will change. We have had completely legal holistic practice in the state of North Carolina since 2018. No one has died.
Yeah.
Nothing bad has happened. We've had it in Florida since July 1st. We've had it in Maine since middle of last year, and we've had it in the other 35 states. You think they could find one state where they can say, here's someone who's dying that saw a health coach, but they can't.
No. And thankfully for you and all the work that you and the council do, I know Pennsylvania was trying over the last year or so to enact something, and you guys took care of that. So
still trying. It's still trying. We're still going back and forth with the legislators and the opposition. It's gotten humorous. It's starting to have some humor in there, because in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says that their sole focus is to protect the public from this very complex medical thing, which is food, nutrition, and diet. And they're trying so hard to justify preventing everyone else. And they're saying, oh no, this is very critical, very complex things. So we came back and said, okay, well, what if the license only applies to working in hospitals? Or if an employer required, no, we can't have that. We have to protect the public. It starts to become when they start tripping over themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, wait a second. You said that the public is really in danger, but you're not willing to put similar restrictions on your own practice. You want yourself to be completely free, but nail down everyone else. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, they're trying to say the only people that can do this are the people who say the only way to treat diabetes is to make sure you give them carbohydrates so we can give them insulin, right? You have carbon tolerance.
Yeah, it's and the other thing we have, this just came up, the future, I think, of dietetics opposition, or one of them, is going to be lab testing. Right now, you have this ability in most places to go down to a lab and get a lab test. You say you want a metabolic panel, go pay the fee, get the results. There you go. In Florida, at their most recent dietetics meeting, they started off with a registered dietitian whose license had lapsed. And it wasn't really any fault of her own. It was just basically a paperwork snafu. And an undercover investigator called her, as they do. They love undercover investigative stings. They called her up and they said, I have arthritis. Can you help me treat my arthritis? The RD said, sure, totally. Let me send you to a lab that I know. They can help you get you the right labs to get some information from you, and then we will proceed from there. She was hit with, I think, like a $2,000 fine for not only practicing dietetics without a license, but also attempting to practice medicine without a license. And they just ripped her life apart. They brought up the fact she had a DUI 10 years ago. It was really humiliating. And then at the end of that, they thought,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I sent an email about this, but they said, at the end of all of that, they said, we're just going to put you on probation for a year. That's it. And I thought, why did they do that? Well, an hour later, when we started getting into the regulatory review, see, there's laws and then there's regulations. Laws are what the legislature passes. It is protect the grass. The regulatory side is where the state government actually says, okay, what's the rule to enforce this law? Don't walk on the grass. So the regulatory side of it, they started looking at the rules and said, we've got this regulation that says we as dietitians cannot order lab tests. I move that we just get rid of that. So on a vote of 4-0, they just got rid of it and gave themselves the authority. And then they said, this is a real public health concern. Let's schedule a workshop to discuss how we can protect the public from nefarious actors using lab testing. That's what they're coming after us with next.
So they're coming after, will it take away the freedom of a human being to just go get their own lab test?
That's what I'm afraid of. So there's no one really fighting for direct access testing. There are a lot of companies out there that produce tests, but there's no one really out there pushing for the citizen to have access to that information. In fact, in New York, you don't ever see anything. A doctor has to be the one to order it. The doctor receives the results, and the doctor's the only one that can interpret it.
Man, yeah, that's absurd. Because if I want to find out if I have, thyroid problems, I'm going to go get my own test, and I'm going to research the data and figure out if I'm on an optimal or functional range, not a lab range where everybody's compared to all the sick people that got their data. I want to look at it the real way, not just trust that a random doctor can tell me what it is. So,
and so we're working on that. That's a big issue that we're working on. So the opposition, there's many great dietitians. In fact, we have a lot of them coming over to be coaches, nutritional therapists and things. But for the rank and file, I think after a while they see that, there's really not a problem here. They do their lane. We don't diagnose, treat, and cure medical conditions or diseases. We stay far away from that. We're empowerment. Leave that up to the dietitians. Yeah. But their echelon, their overarching organizations, their state chapters and the national organization, survival. They want certain exclusivity rights, and the only way they can get that is to use the law to kick us off the field.
Yeah, that's no fun. And with the lab testing, for instance, my friend Kelly, that she's a primal health coach like I am, and a lot of the primal health coaches actually they go through extra certifications and courses because they want to better understand how to read labs. Because Kelly, for instance, she's in Erie, Pennsylvania. So if anybody's watching and it lives in Erie and wants to have somebody who has worked in the health industry and is super knowledgeable, she is terrific at reading labs. She actually has, I'd have to ask her for sure, but different types of licensure, I think. But even if she doesn't, she's one of the best coaches out there that I know, period, bar none. And
there's a lot of schools doing that. There's a lot of schools who are specifically training their practitioners into how to understand and interpret and relate those very basic labs. We're not ordering a PSA test for cancer markers. We just want to see where your vitamin nutrients are. We want to see if you have a food sensitivity test, gluten sensitivity.
For sure. And even, let me see, I think I have it right here. Let me see. So, sorry about that. There are some terrific companies, and nobody realized my room was so big, huh?
No, honestly, you have a much better background. I've got a bicycle hanging there.
Well, you're in DC. You probably have like a 500 square foot apartment, huh?
Well, no, I'm not crazy. I live out in Northern Virginia.
Oh, okay, good.
Where it's about a third the cost, and you get 10 times the room. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So there's a lot of companies coming out with some really cool things, and this is something brand new. It's I haven't even played with this yet because I just got it in the most recent Dave Asprey biohacking box. It's all enclosed, but he sends just some really fun stuff, so I've always kept up with it. Clearly, I can't even see what it's like, but it's essentially a pea stick that can test vitamin levels and nutrient levels, deficiencies, all sorts of things. Really, really interesting things. So, and this is brand new on the market, and hopefully they're improving it all the time. And in fact, when we got this, we got an email that said, "Don't use it just yet. Wait for another email because we have new updates coming." So it's really neat. And like those are the kind of things that we're going to be able to use. And within 2 minutes, you'll be able to find deficiencies, at the very least, nutrition deficiencies, excess proteins, amino acids, things like that. Yeah,
knowledge is dangerous.
I know
it's dangerous. That's what they say. Did I ever send you the disruptors video?
No, I don't think so.
So if you, and I'll see if I can paste the link afterwards, but if you to Google Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics watching the disruptors,
okay,
there's this wonderful video from the former president of the aide, basically saying we have to be on the lookout for disruptors, people disrupting the way we do business. And they're flashing health coaches on the screen and holistic on the screen. And it's fascinating how much they just say the part out loud. But this for them is business. It's not about health, it's business.
Yeah, that's a scary thing, because as health coaches, we are in this to make a living, but we would do this for free, most of us. And that is the problem, right? So we're actually really bad at business because we would do this for free, and we do this for free. But man, when I don't even know what to say there. That's just, it's not surprising at all. But Kelly did chime in. I'm pointing as if you can see my screen.
Oh, yeah.
So Kelly said,
cool. Look at that.
Yeah, right. This is a fun program, man. Functional health coach, primal health coach, metabolic panel. Yeah. Oh yeah, the oats and stool test. She personally collects the stool test. No.
That's brave.
She would laugh real hard at that one, I'm sure.
But those tests let's think about what those tests are doing. Those are informational tests.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just going to get rid of the glasses. I can't get over the fact that I'm looking at the camera and the glasses are like this. And so I keep moving my head around. So, and I've got beady eyes. So it's kind of like, I look like Joe Biden about to give a speech or something. So I should have said that. Anyways, these tests are informational. They're there to inform us. And just because you're informing someone of something, it is not dangerous knowledge. That's what I feel like when you talk to certain people in the allopathic community, certainly when you talk to a lot of the leadership of the dietitians, is that there is certain knowledge that is dangerous. That if a consumer knew this knowledge, they might do something really crazy that could totally endanger their health, like go out and take vitamin D. Now, there is so much evidence on the benefits of vitamin D that it helps with COVID, it helps with depression, it helps with preterm birth weight, preterm births. Mm-hmm. It does amazing stuff. And since we're all working inside now and we're not going to and from work, we're not getting any sun.
Yep.
What is it to go and get that lab test and say, okay, there's the range. They give you the range. They say, this is the range. Yeah. And they highlight it, I think, even if it's out of normal. It's like, oh, my vitamin D is low. Go out and get, where it is. Go out and get something like Now Foods Vitamin D, great company, and start taking it. And then 6 weeks and I'll get another test. You're doing something that you shouldn't have to go to a doctor to do.
Yeah. And we don't consider it's pretty hard to damage yourself by just supplementing moderately. And it's a couple $100 every quarter. You can get multiple tests, which is cheaper than going to the doctor half the time. And if you're a fairly healthy person, and I never will say don't go to a doctor, find a doctor that actually knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Find a doctor that didn't just learn from a doctor 30 years ago that learned, the knowledge is 60 years old. The doctors are educated by somebody that was educated in the 40s. So unless they research themselves, how do they ever keep up on new data? For instance, the American Heart Association, you have to really dig for it. But they just came out and said, hey, we were totally wrong about cholesterol. Are they going to stand on the rooftop and scream this like they did about how cholesterol is going to kill everyone? No, they won't do that. They will secretly put it out there and never say a word again. And we will continue to be given cholesterol medication by these people taught 30 years ago from someone 30 years prior. So
I had to go through 3 different doctors here in Northern Virginia to find a doctor. Because the first 2 that I saw, everything was it was medicine by iPad.
Yeah.
And it's where they were just putting everything into the iPad and the software was telling them what to do next.
Well, I could do that.
Anybody could do that. But it was like they were reading me this list of things and it just seemed like there was this impersonalization. Like, why do we need to do all these things? I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And so I finally found a medical doctor who's also a naturopath. And he's been amazing. He actually listens to what you say. He doesn't do anything with an iPad.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, that, and that, let's tackle it this way. And it's like, wow, when you get someone who actually listens. But I don't even have to go see him as much. I have a thing at home so I can monitor my blood pressure, make sure that's doing well. I can go out and get a lab test that he can order, and we can find it, and we can do this by email. We don't have to go in to see a doctor and use time, especially in the age of COVID, I guess.
Yeah. So, and that's terrific. And that's one of my favorite things about working at the office I do. And I only work 2 days a week there, but people come in and they just say, what's that?
It's blasphemy. I work almost 7. It's been almost 7 days a week since March. It's been busy.
You chose the life, man.
I love what I do.
I'm grateful you did, though. I really am. But yeah, I have multiple jobs. I'm Dr. Kevin Stock, a guy you know him. He talks about people who just aren't meant for working a normal full-time job, and I would rather like deliver pizza twice a week and do work at the doctor's office, do my own health coaching, do emotion code release, those kind of things. I'll do 4 different jobs as long as I'm not doing it every day of the week, and I feel so much better mentally for it. So
a full-time job is one of the worst things ever.
Yeah, we're not made for it. We're not designed that way. So
yeah, we're not made for it.
But yeah, people come into the office and they just, I might spend 40 minutes with someone easily, and they just say, we just feel so welcomed and listened to and loved here. And that's from the doctor to me to all the staff out front. It doesn't matter. And it's just a really cool thing to be part of that. And it wasn't even like I created that when I went in there. It was already in place, so it was a doctor that already put that in place. And it's really nice to be on that kind of team. So
what I like about holistic health so much, education and practice, is that when I think about doctors and when they go to medical school and they go through their residency and training, I feel like the vast majority of them are going through a scientific approach. They're approaching it as scientists to cure, to learn, whereas people who go into holistic health practice come at it very much with empathy. And in order to be good at this, you have to have a significant amount of empathy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that allopathic medicine is able to spare the empathy. There tends to be a lot of fatigue and burnout from all of that. Whereas our people, our holistic health educators and practitioners, are really trained from the ground up to have that empathy, to be able to hold that person's hand, and to say, it's okay, you ate that half gallon of ice cream. We're going to get back on the wagon tomorrow.
That's right. Okay. That's right. So that's so fun.
Journey. I mean, weight loss. I mean, I've lost. Oh, this is the funny part. I know that this works because when I was dating the nutritional therapy practitioner, usually you gain weight in a relationship. I lost like 50 pounds. And then we broke up. I gained it all back. So I'm working to get it back down. But it's amazing that you can see this stuff work.
Yeah, you just got to find another girlfriend that's in the industry, man. That's it. So maybe take a day off a week for dating. So, but yeah, I think one of the best ways to find a doctor that actually is empathetic is find one that almost died and changed his entire practice because of it.
That's just one way,
right? I mean, like you find doctors who are like taking 10 medications just to make it through the day, and then it hits them like, this isn't right, something's wrong, and they change their whole practice over that, and they learn a more holistic approach. All of a sudden, they become empathetic, at least to a point, because doctors are a special breed. They are the mule on the farm that is like, nope, you're supposed to hit me 5 times a day just for me to move forward. And I'm supposed to work 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. Like, they are a mule, man. That's what they know.
Oh gosh, mule. I would almost call them the bull. I think doctors, especially when they're in their 20s and 30s and early 40s, they are the doctor. And I don't mean they hop in a telephone booth and go through time. They are the doctor. They know what's right. And dietitians, according to the academy, not according to them, but those people who are pushing for licensure to rid us from the marketplace, they want to be seen as doctors. They desperately want to be seen as doctors. Insurance, that's another story. That does play into it, but they want to be seen as doctors.
Yeah.
And you have to find a doctor who will listen, and it's tough. You have to go out and you have to actually meet with them. So you have to meet with a few doctors before you actually find the one that's right.
Well, for instance, we have a local holistic, a functional medicine doctor locally that when we were looking for doctors for years, couldn't find one that actually fit our bill. And we called this one office and wanted to talk to a woman who's a functional medicine doctor, and it's expensive to see her. And we wanted to talk to her personally, and she wouldn't. And so I just went, well, she's not the one for me. I don't care how good she is. I'm not going to pay, $800 for a first visit if I can't actually talk to you ahead of time.
Oh,
and it's like a 2.5 hour visit and all these different things. She's going to run all your labs. It covers a lot. It really does. And then after that, it's like $80 to $150 a visit. But if you're not going to talk to me personally, human to human, I don't know. It seems crazy to me. So yeah,
it's very tough. When I find a doctor I like, when I find anyone that I like, mechanic or doctor, it's like hang on to them for dear life.
Man, if I get a good mechanic and they're like, hey man, just $50 for this, I'm giving them 80. I want to make sure he keeps taking care of me. So
but we're always, advocacy is one of the things that we are doing, and we're constantly pushing and working. And it has not been easy. It's been our toughest problem was just getting people to come to the table.
Yeah,
I'm talking to a school actually after this where they're thinking, I'm trying to get them interested in joining the council.
Yeah,
and they said to me, well, we don't agree with that program. We don't like that program.
Sure.
That was on the council, and so I said, well, that may be as it is. We have different modalities. We have different schools. Some of those schools you may love, some you may hate, but the truth of the matter is the more we come together, we're going to have to defend ourselves this way. There's no way we can all do this on our own. And that's just it. And we don't prioritize any one program after another. And that's where the foundation's coming together, because that'll help a lot of things.
Yeah. And speaking of, I'll bring these up right here. This is list has grown. My goodness. Like I remember when it was Primal, INN, and maybe the Kresser Institute and a couple others, and like, holy cow, man, you have been doing some work. That's terrific. And
so that nonprofit that I used to work at, where I came up with this idea, I always felt like there was this disconnect between their work and the people who were funding them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at a nonprofit, you get emails all the time from people wanting you to donate or to support a cause. And what always bugged me is that would happen and then it would go away. And you maybe not ever hear about how successful it was. What was the after action plan?
Mm-hmm.
You might get an email later after the legislative session that says, well, we tried our best and we couldn't do it this time. I want to know more. And oftentimes in government relations, that's not possible. You take Florida, for example. I've been working personally on flipping the law in Florida since 2016, and it just happened this year.
Mm-hmm.
Government relations is a long-term, lobbying is a long-term thing. So what I do is for all of our member schools within the council, we take it personally to talk with their prospective, current, and alumni students about holistic health, its education and training, and whether or not they can practice or not, just like what you did. That benefits. I'm trying to always do a return on the advocacy investment that our schools are putting in.
Yeah.
And so that's been the biggest driver of schools going, oh, finally, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Yeah. They will take care of it.
Yeah. And that's massive, honestly, because Primal Health Coach, you know Lauren and Aaron pretty well, or Laura and Aaron. Is Laura still on? Do you guys still have like a board of members?
On the board. Yep. Laura's
on the board. And so that's Laura Rupsis, and I'm probably going to interview her within the next couple of weeks is the hope, because she's just
nature.
Yeah, huge, right? She can just she's not huge. You know what I mean?
She's phenomenal. We're about to have also Kate Jamarillo from Ketogenics 101 is going to be joining.
Okay. Yeah, terrific. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And like Kelly chimed in again. She says training through the metabolic solutions as well. And she just loves what you're doing here, man. And
thank you, Kelly.
I know we get a lot of people in the health coach community that really are just so grateful because, like you said, whenever it comes to being able to ask our health coach institute, how the heck, what do I do in Pennsylvania? What do I do in Ohio? They don't know how to keep up with all that. They can just send us links of maybe this is what you can do. And you, as long as our school's part a membership, you actually help us out with that, which is great. So,
and the other thing, I wanted to bring up something else that we're doing that it seems it's a little different than what we're doing. I am working to build a nonprofit tax-deductible foundation called the Foundation for Holistic Health Education. And we're halfway there to our goal of raising $1,400. And it was the reason we need that $1,400 is because I have filed the paperwork with the state of Virginia to establish the corporation, but I'm not a lawyer. So I found it was very important for us to have an attorney that we bring on board who can not only review all of our incorporation documents, help prepare the bylaws, help prepare the contracts that we're going to need for things like ethical disclosures and statements like that. And also that all important putting together the accounting paperwork and filing that with the IRS to get that a formal designation with the accountant. So that's what the $1,400 is for, is to pay for the attorney and the accountant to handle everything. And so as soon as we get that, we can fully start to take tax-deductible donations. And that will change everything for our work.
Yeah, and I'll bring this up real fast. You're close, man. You are very close to this. So that's terrific. You got under $300 to go.
Wow. Yeah, it was actually, I didn't realize it was that high.
Wow.
It was, well, just the other night, it was 800.
Oh, no way.
And it's, I hope I didn't accidentally add an extra dollar sign, a dollar point somewhere when I was doing that. I thought it was lower. We're getting close, and that money is just what we need. And I when I first did it, I'll be honest with you, I'm not great at fundraising. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at conveying ideas and raising money for organization. But the foundation is something that I'm really pressing hard because I hate asking our practitioners for money, right? Yeah. Schools support the council, but the foundation, I can't use that money for the foundation. What the foundation will let us do is take in large donations from corporations, from foundations, from other C3 nonprofits. And that money can then it's only going to be used for education. So if we can unleash that and use that money for all of our education, outreach, and informing, it makes the job on the C4 side, where I'm actually lobbying and asking politicians to do something, it makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because then money that gets donated to the C4, meaning the schools pay into the C4, it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about making my mortgage this month. That I can focus on the lobbying, and other monies can be spent towards education and informing, which is actually probably 65% of the battle is educating the policymakers about what the heck is holistic health and how are you not killing people.
Yeah. And so a question, kind of a follow-up on this one, what can people do aside from donation? I know oftentimes we'll get emails that say, hey guys, any health coaches that are in our organization or that get these emails, if you can help on this day, if you can show up and just help us with talking to people. Is that something that we can do as health coaches, or is just a layperson?
Oh no, totally. Absolutely. Donations, I'm not a rich person. I never will be, and I'm not intending to be. We don't have a lot of money. We're still only 3.5, 4 years old. So those donations that come in are extremely helpful, even the small ones for like $25, because sometimes I got to get in the car and drive to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to lobby. Sometimes I need to mail out 514 letters stamped envelopes. I need to pay for our advocacy system that is our action alerts. Those little donations really do add up and help kind of keep us moving. They're the lubricant that keeps the machine moving. But the other thing, the number one thing you can do is get involved. And by getting involved, that is taking a proactive, curious approach to what is your elected officials doing? Who are they? Who are their staff? Have you ever called your local state representative's office?
Yes, and it's a terrible, if it's different representatives, it's horrible to get a hold of. The local guy, great. The state, the bigger people that maybe don't agree with my position, they are always harder to get a hold of, I feel like.
It is harder, but calling them, writing them emails, just informing them that you exist is a pretty big deal. You know, we think that in the state of Pennsylvania, there has to be at least 5,000 or 6,000 holistic health professionals.
Oh, yeah.
From health coaches to naturopaths to integrative physicians. And if I could get just half of those people to personally email their state representatives, not even an action alert, I can copy and paste and give you the text, but you can just straight email them and say, you know what, I don't agree with this licensure. It's going to put me out of business. Please don't. Saying that carries so much weight.
Yeah.
You know, especially when I'm going to Harrisburg and I'm saying, you know, I told the chairman back in February of the committee that's considering this licensure bill, I said, please don't put our practitioners out of business. But I can say that, but if I don't have, you know, those practitioners echoing me, then the politician might think, it's just this guy really doesn't have anybody.
Yeah, right. And so one of the places you guys can go is right on the website here. Get involved. Literally, it's got a legislator lookup tool. How awesome is that? But you can throw your information down in here.
We have one going out for Pennsylvania soon. There's going to be some action alerts going out. I think we're going to win. I'm optimistic that we're going to win, but we're going to have to start getting a little more direct. Yeah.
So I have family close enough to Harrisburg that I got a place to stay for free. So if you need me, you just give me some notice, and I'll trim up the beard a little bit beforehand. But
we do need that. You know, I went with Florida. There was a great moment in Florida when we first really got underway in 2017. The government relations guy of CrossFit, Brett Ewer, he and I traveled down to Tallahassee to lobby, and we had 5 practitioners show up. It was amazing. I mean, it's not easy to get to Tallahassee to do this stuff, but I think that really reinforced for us and our sponsor that this was real. Over in North Carolina back in 2018, we had over 65 practitioners working together at the very end. A dozen or so had gone up to the Capitol and were confronting senators in the hallway. That kind of advocacy, that kind of getting involved is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, because the dietitians and the RDs and everybody and the nutritionists, they have that power. They send a mass email and boom, they'll get 20, 30 people showing up at places.
Yes, and they also give thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to legislators. We don't have. I think there's actually the legislator in New Jersey. I kind of feel like, man, he's probably built his entire 20-year campaign and career on donations from the Dietetics Council.
And that's so unfortunate, right? I mean, it shouldn't be allowed, but that's another podcast there.
Of course.
So, Jonathan, is there anything else? Actually, we got a question here. Let's see. I just got another offer for a place to stay in Harrisburg too. I went to high school with. So perfect.
It's a short drive. It's not a long drive from where I had to go straight up there.
Yeah. Another friend, what's she saying? Lorianne, this is a difficult subject, but can I say phone calls work? We foster parents. We're not happy on laws.
Phone calls are calls. I'm a little facetious when I say this, but there's only one thing politicians fear more than the media, and that's you. And if an office suddenly starts getting inundated, and this is local, state, or federal, with emails and phone calls on something, it terrifies them.
Yeah.
If they don't want to say that, that's when they get them caught and they end up saying the wrong thing, or they might slip up and do the wrong thing. But when it comes to like state and local people, if they've got a lot of people knocking on their door, that's a big issue. You know, we tried to change the law in North Dakota, and we went up there. Brett and I went up there negative 30 degrees, which you should never do. We were up there and we were talking to the legislators of the committee, and one of them said that, you know, I got 6 emails from within the state of North Dakota wanting an exemption to the licensure laws, but 300 of them came from out of state, whereas I had 150 emails inside the state saying, keep the law, keep the license. For them, it's a no-brainer to make that decision. So we have to get the action alerts. We have to blast at them. And so picking up the phone and calling is definitely the way. It's called phone banking. And we had people in North Carolina would have a list, and they would simply call every single office in the Capitol saying the same message. And when they got to the end, they went back to the top, and they did that day after day.
Man, and that's whether it's volunteer or if you guys, it's all volunteer. I mean, because if you're expecting paid by an organization that, you know, you're a small organization. You are, it's you and the couple people that you can manage to pay here and there for different type of lobbying, from what I understand last time we spoke. So everything that goes into your organization is going to, well, first of all, to support you, because you have to, right? And then the rest of it goes to actually helping to lobby in different places where you can't go every weekend to a new state. You can't do that. So you got to sometimes
expensive.
Yep. So and we got even more people. Kelly's saying she's joining too. She's just up in Erie, so we're all going to drive together out to Harrisburg if we need to. And our
990 is out there. The council's 990 is out there.
Okay.
We are very judicious with money. I'm a bit of a cheapskate when it comes to things. I try to accomplish things as little cost as possible, and so we're doing a lot. I mean, for an organization that's only 3.5 years old. And I was marveling the other day at HBCWC, or the Health and Wellness Coach Consortium.
Okay.
They've got a credential for health coaching. And when we first started, we've never really been able to get traction with them, because they're very focused on getting this credential. They don't care about advocacy, pretty much all it seems. But they got purchased by the National Board of Medical Examiners, which is a $200 million a year organization.
Wow.
And so they've been able to take off and do things that we can't yet. So hopefully, and they're also, I think they're a C3, so that makes it a lot easier for them. So I think once the foundation gets rolling, we get the tax exempt status, we can start looking to some of these companies that have said, I want to give, I want to put money into this, but you got to be a C3.
Yeah. So guys, I threw the link into the comments here too. So that way you can just drop down in the comments below, copy and paste that, and throw it into the, that's the link for donating.
Also, I'm sorry, let me give you another link too. FHHE.org. That's the website. And for the interim, I'm going to be running both simultaneously until things get up going and we see how it shakes out. But it's, the American Cancer Foundation, the Breast Cancer Foundation, Greenpeace Foundation. These are all intended to raise money to do education programs, because us lobbyists on the lobbying side, we can't. We're limited in a lot of things.
Okay.
So it's the next step for us.
Yeah. Let me bring that up too, so they can see what it looks like. So it looks very similar to the other website as well, so that you can have an idea of what the foundation is, how you can donate, and all those things. So,
and of course, if your school is not a member, please, I beg you, ask them. I was trying to get a hold of Dr. Sears for a long, long time, and I just couldn't make a connection. And so I finally just started asking graduates, hey, anybody attend Dr. Sears Wellness Institute?
Yeah.
And a couple said, yes, I will email them for you. Perfect. I got a lovely email from the CEO that says, we've been asked to contact you. and so those have been some great phone calls. And when you ask your school to do something, or even better, when you compliment your school on doing something like joining the council,
Yeah.
it means the world to them.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, anytime a school does something positive, please let them know that they're doing something positive. That really, it really matters. I mean, isn't that just a life lesson? If someone's doing something nice for you, just tell them thanks. Tell them why it matters to you and why it means so much to you. It's a huge thing in life, guys. God is good. He does that for us all the time. Do it for others, right? Let's be Jesus to others. That's the goal in life. So, Jonathan, on that note, this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I've been just promoting myself the whole time.
It's perfect.
I was expecting some harder questions here.
Well, I'm on your side with this. I can't it's hard to throw a curveball when I appreciate everything you're doing, man.
My friend tells me I need to go on Joe Rogan if I want to really get some tough questions.
Oh, wouldn't that be terrific, man? Try to
holistic on Joe Rogan would be amazing.
Boy, I can't even imagine the kind of support you get for that. So
I don't even know much about him other than just lots of people seem to listen to him. I've never listened to him.
Yeah.
So I'll have to.
He gets like $100 million downloads a month, or something crazy. It's like him and Tim Ferriss up top, and then you got Holistic Hilda for the Weston A. Price Foundation is like not too far behind them, but drastically lower. She's a huge podcaster, and it's.
I'd love to go on her podcast someday.
Yeah, I can help you with that one because she would really enjoy you. She's a great lady, and she's terrific. So. But yeah, anything else to finish with before we head out?
The only thing I would say to finish out is that please sign up for our newsletter. Please donate some pocket change if you have any to help keep us going. Take a look at the foundation. If that's something you're interested in supporting, let us know. But above all, if your school is a member of the council and you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me. I will help you as much and possibly as I can. And if your school is not a member of the council, please ask them to consider joining. Everyone comes together, and every new school means we can do more and we can bring in more people into our advocacy. So thank you very, very much for the opportunity to be able to speak about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to. We talked about this like a month ago, and I'm glad it worked out the right day. So, well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and for chiming in with different comments and stuff. I always appreciate comments. It really makes these interviews a lot more fun when we have other questions from other people. So, and
I love critical feedback. If you have any critical feedback for me, for how I can do my job or present things better or work better for you, tell Mike, blast it to Mike, and he will make it sound nice and friendly and send it over to me.
Recommendations on how to get the glasses to go straight. And
that would be nice. My camera's like,
I know, right?
So I appreciate, I'm working for you. So the more critical feedback and things that I hear from you on what's important and what you want to see is most important. So I would say my last word is talk to me, please. I want to hear from you.
Yeah. And the best place you can find him, guys, the best place you can find Jonathan, go to the holisticcouncil.org and go to the contact page. That's how I originally got a hold of him last year. And he is highly, highly recommended by everybody who is a member. That's why they back him, and they back him to support us as health coaches and holistic practitioners. So, thank you so much, Jonathan. Just hang on while I end the broadcast here. And everybody, thanks for tuning in as always.